Bills continue to get ready for this game, and joining us right now on the practice field, on the sidelines anyway, outside the Ed Pro Sports Training Center. Happy to have Chris Brown, Bills insider from BuffaloBills.com with us. Good afternoon, Chris. Are you getting wet out there? Is it raining?
Yeah, it's raining. It's kind of a wind-driven mist, so not quite a drizzle, but a wind-driven mist here, and it's just enough to be annoying, quite frankly.
Yeah, that's what I feel
that way about Steve sometimes.
Yeah, right. I'm
just enough to be annoying.
I'm just perfectly the right amount to be annoying. Yeah, that sounds absolutely horrific to me. A wind-driven mist that's just enough to be annoying. That is the worst ever.
Yeah, this is like those days, and Steve might be in the same boat on this, but I know I've talked to a lot of players over the years, and they said they would rather have 28 degrees and snow than like 45 and rain any day of the week, because this is what chills you to the bone even more than a snowy day.
Yeah, your clothes and your uniform and your socks, everything, they start to get heavy. The balls change. When it's cold, everything stays dry at least, you know. You can deal with that, but it's the worst ever scenario when it's just above freezing and wet. That's horrific.
Hey, Chris, I'm wondering why the decision to go outdoors. I'm thinking is something to do with just saving the legs a little bit, right? They were indoors right? They were indoors yesterday, right? Yeah, and so you got to go outdoors.
Yes.
You can't work on that hard surface day after day, at least not this time of year, right?
Yeah, it's been Coach's philosophy ever since he's been here. Anytime they can practice on grass, he wants them on grass. He just does not like the pounding on the joints that the turf does to players' bodies. Even, the most modern of turfs just has more of a wear and tear on the joints than the grass does. And the turf in the field house has been replaced twice. By the Pagulas since they've been owners. So it's not like it's an old, worn-down turf, but even the newest and nicest turf just puts more wear and tear on the bodies than the grass surface. So anytime he can get them out here, he gets them out here.
Yeah, well, what's it look like today? I mean, is there anything to report about lineups, anything else going on out there that's of interest?
Well, I would say this. The good news at the linebacker position is Cory Thompson and Matt Milano are back out here for a second straight day. Granted, they were limited yesterday. We'll find out whether they are limited again today. I talked to Cory Thompson in the locker room yesterday because he's coming off that ankle scope that he had last month. Kind of a 2 to 4 week timetable is the general prognosis for those types of procedures. Again, every case is different. He told me yesterday was the first time he really practiced hard on it, like pushed it, tested it, and he was anxious to test it again here today. And hoping, he felt good enough to do that, getting out of bed this morning and seeing him out here is certainly an encouraging sign, and depending on how much these two guys do today, I think will largely determine whether they have one, none, or both of them up for Sunday's game.
Hey, Chris, I saw yesterday's post-practice report had John Brown listed as limited as well with a groin. Do we have to sweat that one out until kickoff on Sunday? What do you think?
Well, he's dressed for practice today, so my guess is he'll be limited again here today. There's no sense in overdoing it. He's out here participating. He's probably, though we don't get to see it ourselves, he's probably getting team reps, so he's a part of the game plan. I just don't think they're going to push him, especially on a wet field, so wouldn't surprise me if he's limited again today, but we'll hear from Coach after practice, and maybe we can get a sense from him as to whether he's genuinely concerned about, Brown's availability for Sunday.
One guy that raised some eyebrows when he cropped up on the injury report was Josh Allen in his hand. Is that anything to be concerned about? What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't gotten any updates on it, specifically. He's out here and he didn't even have shirt sleeves on. So I don't think it's really affecting him. It doesn't look like he's got anything on his hand. So at least from what I can tell, he's totally fine. I mean,
is it his throwing hand or his offhand?
Passes with the quarterback. That I don't know, and he's got nothing wrapped up on either hand to give any indication as to which it might be. He's just got his play-calling wristband on his left arm. There's nothing else, tape, a wrap, nothing on either hand.
And Chris, in addition to the practice squad, a familiar name, Ray Mcleod is back, huh? Is he out there today? Have you seen him?
The return of Ray Ray. Yeah, jersey number 14 is out here. He's running around with the rest of the guys. I'm sure, knowing a lot of these players, he was welcomed back with open arms. So nice guy to have stashed on your practice squad. Had kind of an up and down time in Carolina. Worked as a returner there for them, but still had some ball security issues in his time with Carolina, which I think is ultimately what led to his release. So practice squad is a good place for him to work on his game and try to develop better consistency in that area and presumably in the receiving area too. So if he wants to get a call up, he's got to kind of put his nose to the grindstone here.
I got to say, and we've talked about this with you, Chris, and you and I've talked about Steve. Ray, I think I think Sean McDermott has kind of a soft spot for Ray Mcleod. They want him to succeed. I know right about a year ago, they were concerned a little bit about his attention to detail, and I think they want to help to continue. I mean, they invested a 6th-round pick in him. They want to continue to help him become an NFL player, which is probably, as you said, the practice squad might be the perfect spot for him right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember talking to him in the summertime, and he said, when I went home last summer and I hung around my family, and he's got siblings working the 9-to-5 thing, and he's got 2 parents that work really hard, and he said just being around them in the summertime, I was committed to really kind of improve my work ethic and really focus on the things that I need to focus on. And unfortunately, that didn't really materialize in terms of the consistency of his game. And for a player who is, in terms of skill set, very much like Isaiah McKenzie, there became this competition, and it was pretty evident to me as, they were getting down to roster decision time that those 2 guys were kind of in the same type of boat, and whoever made more plays through the course of the preseason was going to probably be the guy on the roster, and McKenzie clearly won that battle.
What is the wide receiver position going to look like on game day if John Brown is out with a groin?
I'm not anticipating that, but, the guy that lines up in his spot behind him is Robert Foster. So I would expect Foster to not only be in the lineup, but be a big part of the game plan if John Brown is not available. But I don't think we're getting any indication that that's going to be the case. But obviously, when we get a chance to talk to Coach after practice today, maybe we can get a little more detail on, just how serious, or if it's a minor thing, just a little nagging thing, or maybe it just cropped up. Hopefully we can get some detail on it.
Talking with Chris Brown, he's on the sidelines of the Bills practice, the Thursday practice, getting set for the Dolphins game on Sunday. Hey, Chris, let me get you involved in our Twitter poll because it deals with Sunday's game a little bit and expectations for the Bills. And let me start out by saying we're not putting this one in the W column yet, and I don't want anyone to think that we assume a victory for the Bills here. But our question is, along with the Bills win, what do you want to see Sunday against the Dolphins? And we offered a couple of suggestions on the Twitter poll. Motor, Devin, Singletary sparks the rushing offense. Josh Allen and the passing game continues to improve, or the defense gets more sacks and turnovers. They might be able to do all 3 against this Miami Dolphins team, but what do you think would look the best for the Bills this Sunday?
I would like to see the diversification of the run game a little bit. Frank's been carrying the load. I'd like to see Devin kind of add an extra element to the run game because I think it diversifies not only the run game but the offense as a whole. Now you've got more things to worry about. Frank is largely a in-between-the-tackles runner, and not to say that Devin can't do that, but Devin can get out in space, and even though he's not a burner, he's so elusive that I think it gives the defense more responsibilities. In other words, there's more of the field that they're going to have to cover in the run game, if he's in the lineup and getting the ball from time to time. And he's pretty good as a receiver out of the backfield, too. So I just think it's another thing for the opposing defense to worry about. I'm not convinced that the Bills defense is going to get more sacks on Sunday, maybe some picks, because we know Fitz is prone to throw a few of those and take some chances. But he gets the ball out so darn quick. I don't know if the Bills are going to be able to get home there.
Yeah.
What do you think the situation is? We were just talking about this, Brownie, where they may not know what they've got offensively with Devin Singletary out of the lineup for 4 games. Tyler Kroft hasn't been able to contribute. Now they've got Duke Williams plugged in. And from last year, this time, they got 9 new guys on the offensive side of the football starting. So how long do you think it'll take them before they know everything they can do and who they can depend on week to week?
Well, I mean, it's going to largely depend on whether some of those guys that are coming back to the lineup can stay on the field and stay healthy. I think Duke is an emerging talent that I think they're curious to see how much more he can do in the scope of this offense. I think Tyler Kroft is on track to finally make his Bills debut. Hasn't, set the foot on a game field yet because injuries keep cropping up, but this is a player who can be a dynamic weapon in the passing game, particularly in the red zone. Another huge target for Josh Allen to exploit. And then Devin Singletary, as we mentioned, in a not-too-distant future, is probably going to be an every down back. So those are 3 pretty good elements you're adding to an offense here. And that's why when we were talking about that trade discussion earlier in the week on your show, guys, to me, I kind of looked at this almost similar, not to jump sports here, but everybody was panning the Yankees for, not mortgaging the future and making a trade for a starting pitcher when they were getting players back like, Severino, a starter, and some other guys coming back to the lineup healthy. Bills are kind of in a similar boat here. They've got Singletary coming back healthy. You got Kroft coming back healthy. Those are 2 potentially dynamic weapons to add to your offense that has been doing good in a lot of categories, though I know they do want to score more points than 18 a game.
Hey, Chris, I know you will not be surprised. I'm sure you know this, but I think many Bills fans would be surprised to hear that the Bills are the 10th ranked offense in the NFL right now. And yet there's a feeling among fans and even among the Bills themselves that they can do more, they can do better. Sean McDermott talked about it. We need more points. What do you think's going on there? And why do they not have the scoring to go along with their 10th ranking offensive production in terms of yards gained?
Because I don't think they've been able to consistently get out of their own way.
I agree.
When they're able to stay penalty free, they drive the field. I mean, we talked about it the other day. 8 of their 9 touchdown drives here have gone for 70 or more yards this season. If you look at those drives, to a great degree, they haven't really had 1 or 2 penalties on any of those touchdown drives. So when they stay out of their own way, and when Josh takes care of the football, I mean, Josh gave you the stat himself. He's 8-1 as a starter when they have 1 turnover or less. So if they don't turn the ball over and don't commit pre-snap penalties, and oh, by the way, they're in the top 3 in the league in pre-snap penalties on offense. So if they can just get out of their own way and not turn the football over, I think that production will rise because they've shown when they can stay error-free, they can move the ball and score points.
That's essentially what John Feliciano said to us yesterday here, Steve, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're right. If they don't turn it over and don't take penalties,
there's no stopping them.
Yeah, there's no stopping them. We'll see. We'll see.
Chris, thanks for this. Stay dry. Don't stay out there all day.
Yeah, I don't plan to.
Chris is going to get shagged from the field like everybody else in a few minutes. Thank you, Chris. Chris Brown,
All right,
Bills
Brownie.
Insider, BuffaloBills.com.